So Warner, this is gonna be I think entry three. Um, so it's been a very interesting week this week. I have a lot of things moving along, and I have a better idea of what I need to do moving forward. Um, I'm still waiting on a lot of things to get back to me, but a lot of things have been clarified, and a lot of things that I was waiting on, the people I was waiting on, have gotten back to me in some form. So I'm not worried as much anymore in terms of making sure that I get everything taken care of. It's nice to know that the deadlines aren't so hard set in terms of like getting my school situated and work. But in these last couple days, a few good things have happened. Um, One of them is I started to make progress again. Well, first things first, I made a proper plan for the next year, 2026. I'm thinking that I'm going to spend my 2026 doing as much as I can to move myself forward as quickly as possible and really just put my head down. So it's the only thing that's holding me back, right? Well, no, the one responsibility that I have, other than making sure that I can live, is that I have this class that I have to take care of. So past that, I'm going to spend the next year focusing on the things that I want to do and the things that I think will let me push forward. Um, like because this degree's pushed back me being able to like start a job or apply to a job and saying that I have 2 degrees because I only have one at the moment. But I think it was a good thing that happened overall because it opened up a door, right? Because I was looking into how to break into like the comp sci field because that's what the degree is in. And I was realizing that one of the big problems that I have in that is that I'm not confident in my own ability and I have nothing to show I'm confident in my own ability. I've learned a lot of skills at the school that I was going to, but I don't have anything to show for it per se. So in the next year, I want to do my best to push myself forward and have my own drive to do these things now that I know what I'm doing. So in the next year, by 2026, I'm hoping that I will have multiple gaming projects done. I will have a home lab set up. I'll have some IT certifications. And thank God that there is an internet because it allows me to be able to see these things and learn these things on the internet now that I know what I'm looking for. And I think, I know compared to a lot of my other peers that are farther ahead of me in this subject is because they knew these things were available. And I might have had an inkling, but I didn't realize how much more accessible it was than it actually is. I also don't know how much of that is accessible now because it's 2026. Because when it was in 2016, a lot of these channels and a lot of this information was probably still put behind a barrier. So in the last couple of days, having these things open up to me and me switching my own mindset into making sure that I'm doing these things and I'm pushing myself and I'm making myself face these challenges and do these hard things. Um, I think it'll help me that by the time the 2026 rolls around, I'll be a better computer scientist, and I'll have a better idea of what direction I should go in because I was I think the last video I was talking about, there was a thing that opened up to me, and I didn't know which direction to go. But I think this past couple of days has really helped me decide which path is best for me. And that's to double down on what I've been learning, and instead of pivoting completely in a new direction, that would just be me running away from the problem instead of me facing the problem head on because I have the tools to do so. So instead of, if we're equating this to, because I've been equating this to, what's it called? I've been equating this to video games and stuff, right? I tend to like, if this is, first thing that comes to mind is like the Skyrim tree, right? With the constellations. I feel myself as someone who, tends to go as far as the constellations as I can until it gets hard and I don't know what to do. And then I just switch constellations when it's more optimal and it makes more sense for me to take the one constellation route. or 2 constellation rounds, and just bulldoze my way through it, because those are the skills and the opportunities that lead to growth. If I just keep on hopping around, I'll get somewhere, but it won't be. It'll be longer and it'll be harder in the long run than if I just sat down and ground through grinding through the levels to level up in a certain class before moving on to something else. Um, so I think the next year I'll see a lot of growth in terms of like, I want to say like my professional skills, you know. So hopefully, which each week, I can see more growth with my software skills, more growth with my hardware skills, and then I think that that'll help with my professional development as well as my development, intellectually as well, because these are, how do I say, these are areas that require a lot of mental fortitude. Um, so I think that'll be very useful. And I think that this week has given me that ability to be able to figure out what direction I can go, because I'm realizing, you know, I only have one class left, so, and I'm home right now, so it feels like I've graduated. So given that, I'm realizing that a lot of the stress that comes with all of these decisions, other than the fact that I'm waiting on people to get back to me, which is just stressful, because it's like it's not a problem in front of me that I can just start tinkering around with it, and then I can like find some research, come back and tinker around with it again. It's something where I have to rely on other people to take time out of their days when they're dealing with their own problems to get back to me. But in that time that I've been waiting, I realized that a lot of the stress is that, I don't know what is the right decision anymore, right? I have some ideas of what directions I want to go in. There's this, there's like the comp side, software, video game side of things. There's the IT, home labbing. There's the martial arts or whatever, right? But, it's one of those things where, I've been in school for, a very high percentage of my life. And as being in school for a high percentage of my life, everything for the most part is planned out for you. Like when you're in college, like I had to choose my own major and I had to choose my own classes. But like within that major, once you choose that major, for the people who decide to choose that major, because some people realize that college isn't for them. But like or when you're in school, the curriculum's either given to you or you know what subjects you need to take, and then the curriculum's given to you and you have to follow that plan. But once you get out, you have to make your own plans and hope that it makes sense, because when you're making decisions, you're not just making decisions for the semester. Like it's not just gonna be 10, 15 weeks and then, oh, I get, 3 week break for Christmas and then I get a 3 month break for summer. I wonder what I'm gonna do. It's like, no, you're making these decisions for like, is this gonna last me for the next year, next 2 years? If I make this decision now, 5 years from now, am I gonna be screwed over? Right? And to a certain extent, for some college majors, no disrespect, but like it's not advertised well that when you go into those majors, the work you need to do when you get out of school. But also when you're making decisions when you're out of school, there's not a lot of information of how things will turn up in 5 years if you just make this decision to move here or take this job, or talk to this person instead of that other person. And that it's a little bit scary, and it's a little bit disheartening, not knowing where things are going to end up in the next 6 months. And I think the other thing is it's dealing with a different time frame of, I'm not just making this decision for a semester. It's like, great, I need to plan out this 3 months and then the next 3 months and 3 months after that, and then hope that in a year, the decisions that I've made and the work that I've put in is enough, and then I got to continue to do that forever, right? And each decision that you make and each idea that you come up with, right? Like, not only do you need to make sure that you have the time to properly think about it, but I know for me, I get into a situation where whenever I want to do something, I look into it properly, but sometimes I look into it for too long, right? Like with the YouTube stuff, like I probably could have been just yapping to a camera like a long time ago, but it wasn't until this, you know, not this past semester, but last spring that I realized it doesn't need to be that complicated. There's a phone screen. I'm in my kitchen just talking to a camera. Like it doesn't need to be that complicated. And I think it's that that's the thing that I find the most interesting is realizing that all of these decisions seem so big because they're no longer decisions within the vacuum of school, the decisions within the vastness of life. And so I don't know whether or not the decisions I've made, previously were the right one, or the decisions I'll be making are the right one. But all I can really do is, pick myself a North Star within a reasonable timeline and make sure that I'm being honest with myself, that I'm actually putting in dedicated work, towards something better, and hope that the decisions that I'm making and my willingness to show up and be consistent will be enough to push me forward. And I know that it is because I might not know professionally what I'm doing at the moment with like the IT and the software. Like I've made programs, I've been programming for the last 3 years. Like, I know how to do for loops, while loops, but like I've never made an app on my own. I'm very bad at front end, right? But I've made video game and I found that really fun and interesting. So I'm going to continue on with that. So I know what I kind of like, what I don't like, what I'm weak in, what I'm not weak in. And I, even though it's very new to me, I now know an idea of what direction I need to walk in, and there's resources available for me to do that. But the only reason that I know that this is the right way to program, my journey forward in terms of a professional career, as well as a personal one with the video, I kind of count the video game as kind of personal, kind of professional, is that I love working out and I love the gym. And within researching that so many years ago, I think maybe like freshman year of college, not freshman year of college, freshman year of high school, which is like almost 8 years ago, I stumbled along Jack's Blade, right? And started watching fitness content and the Pioneer and like calisthenic stuff and B4 Flex, like I said in the first video. But like the whole point of going to the gym is that like each time you're trying your hardest and you fail, right? But then you come back and you just keep on trying, in a way that you're always improving. And you can look back at yourself, you can look back at your lists or like your calisthenics move and be like, hey, I couldn't do, that many push-ups before. I couldn't deadlift that much. I couldn't run that much. But like I've been putting in the work and now it's been 5 years and I can run this much and I can walk this much. And I'm like, I can look in the mirror and see that things have changed. And like I'm not a professional, but like it's given me that confidence that like as long as you are mindful in the steps that you're taking to move forward and you're showing up to move forward, good things will come. And the more you do it and the more you're willing to learn and the more you don't know, like it gives you the opportunity and the grace to kind of see 1 month, 2 months, 3 months in the future and figure out, hey, these are probably the things I should focus on now. These are the things that I should focus on later. And these are the things that my future could look like if I follow these steps. And so, in doing that, and in going to school and learning like how to properly research and such, it's given me the opportunity of knowing like in the next year or so, I need to make it. I need to make this project. I need to get this certification. I need to have this experience. And like even if it's not tomorrow or the day after, by the time a year's gone around, I'll be a lot better off than when I started. And to steal something from Jack's Blade, it's that 1% better every single day, And so it's just putting in the work, and being willing to put in the work, because I know personally with that, getting into the mindset of just constantly trying to research something to the point where I know a lot of stuff, but the only reason I'm not moving forward is because I'm not doing it. I know that I've gotten better at knowing that I should just move forward and I should give myself a hard limit on how long I do to research and plan before I start doing something. Um so, for it, like it used to be like months and months before I started doing something, but like years in the beginning, right? But I'm realizing now that I'm a lot more capable and than I think, and you need a lot less stuff than you think to do what you want in some form, right? until you have the opportunity to do the thing that you actually want, and you'll be better off than if you hadn't prepared and like done the thing before that opportunity came to you. So, one thing that I'm running into now, and I'm realizing a lot sooner than I used to, is some of the things that I want to do I can do now, and I should do now. And I shouldn't just keep on reading and watching things until I think I'm good enough. I should read and watch things until I know where I should go, and then I should just start walking there. So, yeah. And I think another thing is I was watching Sarah's TV earlier, like, maybe like 30 minutes ago. I took the dog for a walk and came back, but I'm realizing that, you know, one of the things that I do is that I try to look too far in the future, and I want it to happen now, when I should really just take the time to do what I want and take it slow and enjoy the process, because the outcome will be better and it'll be more worth it. Um, yeah. Well, this is I think entry 3 or whatever, but you know, maybe one day there'll be clips and stuff and there'll be editing, but for right now, I'm just gonna stick with speaking what's on my mind. So I'll see y'all. Salagat Bantu. Wish you the best.